Wow.
There's the man.
Oh,
What's up, Juan?
I've been 20 minutes trying to figure out how to do this stuff on my phone here. So I think you can hear me and see me. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's perfect. And you know what? Honestly, I really wish I could have grown a goatee because we'd look totally alike right now. I'd be so flattered, man. You know, I could be your double in any movie that you're going to be a part of. And I'm going to say, well, welcome to the show. And I'll say Mr. Walker once because out of respect for all the great memories. And I'll go back to Larry right away. Thanks for doing this for us.
Well, it is my name, so I guess I can't complain with that. So
there you go.
Hey, Walk. Thanks for doing this, my man. I appreciate it. I know it's past your bedtime because you're in now. You're done. You played 36 today, so sorry. Thanks for staying up for us, my man.
Just 18, but I took 81 shots, so it wasn't too productive.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is, man. It's something I'm not even close to that. I'm not even going to tell my score, man. I think if I played Minipod, I would get 81. You know what I mean? So, and actually, I was going to say that as soon as people found out that you were going to be our first guest, it brought up so many memories and I want to thank you on behalf of every Expos fan that that were fans while you were with the team. And man, thank you for all the memories. We'll talk about that later on. Like I said, I want to include you in the what we call the warm-up section. Right before that, I'm gonna have like a little confession because when Eric emailed you to ask you to be on the podcast, I was attached to the email, and then you answered back, and I swear to God, I went, I have Larry Walker's email, man. So I promise I won't write too often, no more than once a week. How's that? Is that a good deal? Is that,
it goes to that junk part of the mail, so I don't ever see it anyway.
All right. This is where the relationship's at. Okay, I'll accept it. I'll take the lumps that go with it. The warm-up section is pretty much, even though we want to talk about more of the social issue, the big issues of baseball, I think we have to go around the league right now. Who's the surprise team for you so far, and who's the disappointing team? The answers are obvious, but tell me why it is what it is right now.
Well, I don't think anybody is expecting to see the Tampa Bay Rays being 29-7 right now.
Yeah.
So, they might be decent, but they're not that good. So it's kind of crazy. And then the disappointment is what the Cardinals are trying to do. They seem like they're really falling apart for me. And being an ex-team of mine, it's hard to watch them fail as they are when they're so much more is expected. But it's early.
Yeah, but it won't last very long. I mean, you know how it that played the game. I talk about baseball IQ, and I think that's what the Cardinals bring. I think it's just, you play there. That's kind of what they do. They play the game right. You got guys like yourself, these guys that I've been there forever. They played the game right. And is that what when you're playing, is that kind of what the whole vibe was about? Playing the game right, playing the game hard, playing 9 innings, that kind of the old school way a little bit?
Yeah, it was that, and, back when I was there, Tony La Russa was the manager, and it was always, Tony seemed to be an inning or two ahead of every other manager in the league as far as when it came to managing. And it was pretty much fundamental stuff. You always worked on getting a guy over. You worked on getting him over. There was a lot more hit and runs that were being done. I don't ever see a hit and run anymore. And
no.
And just the basics of baseball, because it's the game was it's a little different this year with it's back to normal, I guess. It's not different, but than it was with all the shifts and everything. So the game's being played a little different with all the speed coming back in the game that you didn't get to see before.
I always love it when I see, I don't know, when the Royals beat the Mets, was it like 5, 6, 7 years ago? Time flies. I love these, underdog teams that surprise everybody. We talk about the Rays right now. To me, the Rays remind me of the Expos for exactly, it's not the money they can spend like other teams. Just let's go through the system. Their recruiting is amazing. The guys they lose leave at the perfect time, and there's always someone behind to take their spot. And to me, and like I said, I take joy. What joy? It's not like I'm dancing on their grave, but when I see teams spending over $200 million and being in last place while these guys are grooming young kids, it makes me smile because it's got to be that. I think the Rockies where you played were a perfect example of like homegrown kids and let's get the right free agent. The right combination of both to me is a perfect team. But to buy 9 guys like a team of ringers, it just gets to me.
No, and I agree with you on that. I think we all know who the teams that are out there right now spending all the money, and and trying to buy themselves a World Series. But then you see these young kids come along and gel and work together as a team and be successful. It's much more gratifying to see that, especially as a former player, that these guys are working hard and figuring out the game without not just having 6 superstars come in that you rely on all the time.
And
yeah, I mean that's the whole point. I think we talked about the card, everything else, play the game and all that stuff, and money can't buy you that. And the guys like Tony La Russa and guys like Dave Roberts, I'll call him old school. Dave Roberts is not old school. He's a new in LA, but I mean these guys that can manage personalities. This is what we talked about in the French podcast part. You can't. He can spend $300 million, but if it doesn't match, it doesn't fit. You don't have anything. You
can't buy chemistry.
You can't buy chemistry,
No.
and I think that's kind of where we're trying to go with this. It's like the chemistry you can't buy, have that, and it's very, very, very hard for people to understand this. And you're not in part. Clubhouse is a big difference, and like you can't quantify that. The data now and everything else, they don't quantify leadership. I think that's kind of what you brought to the table, and then that's kind of where the Tony. These are guys like, tell us a little bit more. That guy, like, how did he bring those superstars? Because you guys had a lot. He brought everybody together. Tommy Lasorda back in the days, he's just a motivator, and that's kind of what he did, right?
Yeah, I think I understood your question there, Eric. You're cutting in and out really bad. I'm only getting about 30% of your words, but I think if you looked at the Dodgers back in the day, they had an amazing lineup, but they had zero chemistry. They had some people I know talked about how the different countries that everybody was from, and trying to get all those countries to join together and become one. And they struggled a lot of times. They always saw the dissension in the dugout and arguments and just no chemistry on the field. And that's one thing that always existed with the Cardinals, especially. It was right then. The coaches knew what Tony was trying to do, and it's something the organizations, probably taught Tony along the way too. But on just the Cardinal way, on how they approach every game, how everything is studied, how all the coaches and the meetings and everything that go on. So every game, there's no rock unturned that when the game starts, you're not going, oh, why didn't we go over that? Pretty much everything's covered, so it's well thought out plan that they have.
I asked Eric that question off the podcast, in between podcasts. We're just chatting and stuff, and I'll ask you the question. It's a two-parter question. Can you have too many stars on one team? And when it comes down to the trade deadline, when there are going to be acquisitions, I mean, if you're in the hunt, if you're in the playoff hunt, if you're already, if you're almost pretty sure to make the playoffs and stuff, you're going to go for the push. There's going to be a move. They might go get somebody who, without calling them a cancer in the locker room, but you know what I mean? Someone who's got that strong personality that might not give out the right vibes. Are you guys consulted at all? Is there not every player, but I mean, we also know their leaders in the locker room. Is there some communication that goes like, look, if we bring this guy in, how do you guys feel about that? Are you consulted on some part of that? Not being consulted on the trades, but do they take the weather, the temperature of the room?
Well, the first part of your question with can you have too many superstars, and you can, I guess, but I don't think it hurts not to have them all. And I think a good barometer for that right now will be the San Diego Padres. They have a lot of superstars in their lineup. Now, can they perform as one great team? Well, it's so far not yet.
No.
So I know there's been some injuries with Tatis and Soto struggling and stuff, but that we'll see what happens with that. And the other part, as far as bringing in somebody new, it's rare, at least in the times that I saw that, the team will consult the players, or maybe a handful of the players, ones that have been around the game along or with the team a long time. For me, it happened once, but it was in the off season, so it didn't. So it didn't really make a difference. But nothing during the season. It was just, here's what's going on, and here's who's coming in, and here's who's going out.
Does that ego actually once in a while just stays outside the lines? You go, look, I'll just put up with it. I'll just shut up, and I'll just, we'll make the best of it. The goal room is, as soon as we cross that line, as soon as we're on the field, hopefully the goal is the main for everybody. Or do you have to remind some of these people, you know what I mean? Is that shakeup that goes down that we don't see of hey, dude, shut the F up or whatever. Like, you're on this. You came over to us, by the way. This is our way to do things. Have you ever seen those discussions? Obviously.
Well, I think for most of the part, at least the time I've only traded one time. Montreal was a free agency, and then I was traded from Colorado to St. Louis. So, and I went over there, and I assume everybody does it the same way, but I zipped my mouth for a while until I got a feel for the land. I wanted. I love it.
A feel for the land. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't want to go in there kicking and screaming or nothing. It was a veteran team. They were a zillion games over 500, so whatever they were doing was working. So I'm not going to go in there and try to disrupt things and cause a scene. So it's about just going in and just slowly fitting in with the guys, and it was an easy fit.
Eric, you got one?
Can you hear me right now? Can you hear me walk?
Yeah, we're hearing you now.
I got you.
So I got a question for you. I mean, it's crazy. Like, who you think would win? Like right now, you got old school, you got data, you got everything else. How much do you think that comes into play for trades? We're talking about trades, signing new guys. I mean, we know about old school, but how much do you think that comes into play now? The data and analytics and everything.
That's probably an impossible question for me to answer because some of these letters that they put together, and they stand for something, I guess. I don't know what the hell they are. So,
I love it, man.
So I just you look at a guy and say that guy's good, and here's what he's doing great on the field, and all these other BFs and TBDs and AF whatever, I don't even know what the hell they all are. F wars or something, or I don't know.
Uh-huh.
You got me. You got me.
Ex-WOBA. There's a lot of things going on.
That?
So that's a lot.
Sounds like a Star Wars.
Hit
character.
Hit the ball hard.
Yeah, that's it. See the ball, hit the ball. Guy, you hit it, the guy runs and catches it and throws it in. There you go. Who can do it the best?
Well,
keep it simple, right?
I still think instincts will always be part of the game. We're trying to shove it out. Like as soon as they talk about robots calling, the strikes and balls and strikes, I find that's horrendous. I mean, of course I get mad when there's a bad call, but I mean, the human angle, the human effect has to be part of the game. You can't imagine having a robot calling the game and just putting an umpire as for show type of thing. I mean, the game is supposed to be about right and wrong. It's supposed to be like all these calls being made or not, and just like I said, the instinct's supposed to be. Man, sometimes I see guys coaching where I can almost send their flipping pages to find the right number and the right thing. I mean, can't you manage from your gut? And what you live with La Russa, I mean, of course, last year or 2 years ago with the White Sox, we saw like an older La Russa who had maybe be passed by the game, but still back in the days, these managers, Lasorda, La Russa, we can name 20 names in a row. They manage from the gut.
Yeah, I mean, I get the game has changed, and it's changed, from 50 years ago. Never mind just within the last 10 to 15 years how much has changed. But so you roll with the changes, and I guess you got no choice but to do it. So, you know what, the analytical part of the game, I think, played a part in my induction. So I guess I can't be too harsh on it. It worked in my favor.
Okay, so you use it when it's an advantage to you, obviously. But
exactly.
Hey, we're going to. It's time to go to the next segment. You're staying with us because obviously you're part of the segment. It's time to say what we call rundown. Well, the rundown, Larry. Now that we're intimate, we can say that. Let's talk about the Expos, man. Let's talk about those days. I have to relive it. I mean, since we started the podcast, you should see the amount of numbers of messages we're getting of people saying hi to you. People still remember you greatly in this town. Man, I remember there was something about that stadium when it was full. I remember going to see games, and for some reason, like 94 season was frustrating because you guys were so ahead. And the years before or after, it would always come down the last couple of weekends. It was always tough to watch, the last second, losses that would, I remember watching a series against the Phillies. You were a part of it. And it was like having a hockey crowd at a baseball game. Am I right when I'm saying like a packed Olympic stadium in the playoff kind of atmosphere, like a stretch down the season to make the playoffs, was the noisiest place in baseball?
Yeah, I've said it before. It's a quote that I've said before. When you get in those games and the place would be absolutely shaking. You get down to first base and you can't even have a conversation with the first baseman because it's so dang loud.
Really?
So, no, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I wish we could talk about more of those scenarios because they were unfortunately far and few between because we had so many disappointing years there. But the times when we were pushing for the pennant there late in the seasons and the crowd was going nuts. I remember the Phillies series you're talking about. There was an Atlanta series that was really crazy as well, and just great memories, obviously for me and for you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and you know what? Here was the frustrating thing. I mean, I'm 53, so, when I started following baseball, it was like, all the kids were coming up, the Dawson, the Carter, the Rogers. I can go on and go on. Was it Tim Foley, who I think was shortstop at the time before he got traded? Bill Spires, and like I said, so on. Valentine, look, I got to stop naming names. We get the point, Max. It's okay, And it was like that for over almost the 20 years I followed the Expos till the 94 until they started crumbling. But you're part of an organization that's not going to go out and sign the big names. When you come up, because you guys had the same thing. You had that great, you, Grissom, Wetland. I mean, all came through the system. What's it like when you know that you're in an organization that will be conservative when it comes down to the free agency?
Well, for the years I was there, that didn't matter much to us because we were constantly getting awarded the farm system, of the year in baseball because of the homegrown talents we had down below, and as you talked about earlier with the trade and going to another team or a free agency, and you go to another team, how you got to kind of feel your way into it. Well, we had our guys coming up from the minor leagues, and everybody in the major league team already knew these guys. These kids were at spring training already with us, so there was already relationships built with everybody. They were just still getting molded down in the minor leagues before they got to come up to the major league. So the friendships and the camaraderie were already all there when these guys got called up, including myself.
It's funny because
I got a question, Larry. Do you believe Expos? I think we're a hockey. But I mean, I believe in it. I think if that team wasn't broken up in '94, I believe that would have been a dynasty. You still think? Do you believe that?
Yeah, I don't. I've said that as well, Gags. If that hadn't happened and things would have been kept together, I wasn't let go. Grissom wasn't let go. The list goes on, as you guys know, and the team kind of got dispersed around the league. That perhaps the next year after that horrible '94 season when it all ended, and perhaps the next year we keep that team together, there's a World Series, and if there's a World Series, then who knows what that's going to do to the city, to the ownership, and everybody involved, and it keeps the players there, and that dynasty and that team sticks together for who knows 2, 3, 4 years. Who knows what that would have been, but there could have been some incredibly winning seasons there and having some ticker tape parades going down St. Catherine Street somewhere, it's like, it would have been great.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sorry. I have to reminisce for a second, but we're going back.
Take a commercial break. So you can wipe away some tears.
Angry Max. Angry Max. Still.
Yeah. It's going to wipe that little tear coming up. It's just like, no, but I mean, I've said it before and I keep saying it again. I don't think the Montreal Canadiens are going to win another Stanley Cup unless the Nordiques come back or the Expos come back, because it's all the intentions on one team. And that's what was great about the Expos. Give us something to think about outside of if it was a good season for the Canadiens, the Expos were a compliment to it. If it was a bad season, the Expos would change their minds, and vice versa. You guys brought us joys for the whole summer, and it was just, man, I felt like I was in a major league city, and that's what pisses me off about their departure and the lack of political intent to bring him back. Is like, can I be a major league? Because we've proven that we can do it, and there's nothing more passionate, like you said, than a hockey crowd out of it. Anyway, I'm going to start crying again. But anyway.
Well, I sent a video to Perry's event that he did the other night, and in that I even stated, that a lot of people have fought to get the Expos back in Montreal, and you tune into some of these games, and even Tampa with their winning ways, they're pulling in not enough people for the team that they have, and Oakland was what I use as an example. I mean, it's a spring training game there every day, but somehow they're still kicking around there. But now I hear this talk about them going to Vegas or somewhere. But I just wish Montreal was in the conversation more.
But actually, you brought a good point, because that's what makes me mad also, is when you see like the attendance in all these stadiums and nobody ever talks about them moving. I thought it was always biased because we're north of the border. I understand. And obviously, we don't have the TV revenues that, they had later on that can actually save a sinking team. But I think nobody really tried to give us a chance to survive. And it's just, at the end, it's going to be rough as an image, but it's almost like, to me, going to see an Expos game in the last couple of years in the early 2000s was like going to see your 92-year-old grandma at the hospital. It's just a matter of time before she says goodbye. And it was just hard to see, man. I want to be a part of it, but you're just ripping my heart out every time I go to that game, man.
What a heartbreaking comparison, man. I feel sorry for Grandma.
Oh, my God.
Hey, it's our first podcast, man. I got to give as many... You got anything for the ratings.
It'd be great if they would agree to something, and something, where it comes back. And obviously Olympic Stadium isn't where it would happen.
No.
Put a new ballpark downtown with maybe not as many seating. Put a 35,000 seat ballpark downtown. A lot more afternoon games where you get your businessman specials. People can work half a day and then go catch a ball game downtown, and then maybe a hockey game later on that night if the two happen to collide by fluke. But
yeah, hey, give me a good Wi-Fi. I'll work in the outfield. You know what I mean? I'll work in the bleachers. Give me just I'm going to ask you I'm going to use a hockey comparison, because I'm going to say, what was your welcome to the major league moment? I'll give you an example. I was talking to Jimmy Benn, Jordy's brother. His first shift in the NHL as a defenseman was against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and his first shift was against Le Cavalier, Stamkos, and St. Louis. That's a welcome to the NHL moment. What was that big moment for you? Of course, the first day you walk into a locker room, you're in awe of everything. You try to, to just sink everything in. You want to enjoy every second. But what was that big first welcome to the big league moment?
Well, it's tough to beat that one right there with what you said. You get that phone call, first of all, down in the minor leagues, and then you call your parents and friends, and you tell them what's going on, and you walk in that clubhouse. And I guess, that is huge right there. And I don't know if it gets bigger than that, but my first two at bats, I faced Mike Lacoste against the Giants.
Whoa!
I walked my first at bat, then I walked my second at bat, and my second at bat I got down to first base, and Will Smith looked at me and said, "Good Lord, they're pitching you like you're Babe Ruth." So I was like, "Oh yeah, well, what can I say? I got 18 home runs at AAA, so maybe so. You never know." Yeah,
that's right, guy. 18 in AAA, so a little bit of respect. Come on.
Yeah, but no, just that phone call is the most amazing thing, So that was pretty cool.
Speaking of phone calls, you get that phone call for the HOF, man. That's unbelievable. How was that? How was it? I mean, that was just all those years working, like from Montreal, working your way up to the Hall of Famer. That's amazing. Just tell us, because I wish I could say that.
No, that one takes the cake. That one's not even close, and especially when you don't expect it to come. So there's no way I'm expecting that phone call to come. So the element of surprise when you see that 212 area code pop up on my phone, and you know what it is, and
that's hilarious. Really, you know the area code? That's funny, because 212 is the New York area, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that and knew exactly what it was. And they don't call you to tell you, "Hey, sorry, you just missed." They only call you to tell you
gotta rub it
if you're in or not. So
yeah.
But I messaged Scott Rowland this year, and I said, like it was the day before, and I said, make sure you got yourself in the right spot for that phone call, because it's when you see that number light up on your phone, it's going to be a moment you're never going to forget. So, and I don't forget that. That was an amazing moment.
And I got another question. Who picked your outfit? Because people don't know, but you're wearing a SpongeBob shirt, right?
Yeah, I can't even blame it on anybody.
Well, Hall of Fame, you can do whatever you want, man. That's a permission. Actually, you know what? That's what I would do. I'll try to shock as many people. The whole time you're giving a speech, you go, "What's he wearing? What's going on? What's this?" You're Hall of Famer, man. You got privilege that you can do whatever you want, man.
I hadn't put that. I play in a member guest down here in Florida every year with a buddy, and we wear goofy matching outfits for every round. And one round we had SpongeBob pants on and a yellow shirt and everything. And then I found that thing, and we reused the outfit 2 years after. And it's the only time I've ever worn that shirt was in that member guest. But I couldn't wear it when I played; it was too big. So it was just like a pre-golf outfit. So that thing sat in my closet for 3 years, 4 years. It was the first time I put it on since that golf tournament. And then wouldn't you know, it's right in front of cameras going around the world. So yeah.
I'm just trying to picture you with SpongeBob pants in your closet for 3 or 4 years. How many times did you and your wife would wear that? Come on.
No,
You gotta let it go. Come on. No.
That was 6 years ago. I don't think they fit me anymore, so it doesn't matter.
I'm not gonna go there. I don't want to know. I'm not gonna go there. We're gonna go into the. Hey, we're gonna go into the last segment called the relief. Let's pass on to the next subject. Segment is called the relief because basically, like I said, in the French side, we're trying to put the focus on the guys who are about. Actually, all 4 Quebec guys tasted the major leagues last year. We're talking about Lopez, Julien this year, Toro, and LeBlanc. On the English side, the list goes on and on. Just a Naylor family is going to provide probably half a team anyway pretty soon. So you're involved with Baseball Canada, which is, by the way, also the sponsor of this segment. Thanks. Hey, first podcast, man. First episode. We have a sponsor. Thanks for the l'ABC and Baseball Canada. You want to explain to us, for people who don't know, the role that you have with the development of Baseball Canada right now?
Well, I don't. I enjoy putting the uniform on whenever I can. It's the only time I put on a uniform anymore is if the word Canada's on it. So otherwise, it doesn't happen. So I don't consider myself a person that would be a coach, and I just it's hard for me to put into words what I did and how I did it, because a lot of what I did was between my ears, and it's tough to teach the mental part of the game, which is for me very, very important, and that was a big part of my success. So it's hard for me to relay a lot of things, so I don't get too crazy in it. And the WBC and some of the other events, the Pan Am Games, and everything, it gives me an opportunity to put the jersey on for 10 to 14 days and be with these guys. And I more answer any questions they have. If I see some obvious glaring issues, I'll speak up. But I know these guys belong with other organizations, and they're being taught certain ways that organization teaches. So out of respect to them, I don't just jump in and try to rehaul somebody's swing and make them change everything. But I do talk to them about how your brain could really take you a long way in this game, because your brain can defeat you very badly, even if you have all the talent in the world, but your brain can get in the way. So that was an important part of my game, and I talk a little bit with the guys about it.
It's impressive because I talk to all the guys, WBC and all these kids. We have French Canadian kids team and everything. You're a mentor. I think it's pretty cool. Just to put it's a huge boost for them to see that a Hall of Famer guy come in and help, and just to be around, talk about baseball and everything else. But my question basically is who impressed you the most? Who's the most impressive player you've had?
I think you asked me who the most impressive player on the was it on the WBC this year? Is that who you're?
Yeah, this year.
Okay. Well, I think one of your homegrowns there, and Eddie, when he got called up to Minnesota, the guy's eye at the plate, his patience at the plate, and just the knowledge that he had. We talked about some hitting aspects and some pitch count aspects while we were there, and because I talked to him about the 2-1 pitch. It was a pretty important pitch. That either takes the count to 3-1 or else you're getting even. And I mentioned to him and about how 2-1, how many times you get an off-speed pitch on 2-1. It's not a fastball count, but everybody seems to think it is. And the only way it is an off-speed, it is not going to be an off-speed, is if the 2-0 pitch is off-speed. So you watch, it's amazing how many times you can watch it. So if the 2-0 pitch is off-speed for a strike, the 2-1 pitch now becomes a fastball. So I was explaining all this stuff to him, and during the game it would continually happen, and I'd look down the bench and he'd be just nodding his head at me, going, "Yep, there it is again." You gotta go. So just things like that guys can look for and learn, because it'd be a lot easier to know when Éric Gagné was going to throw his Bugs Bunny pitch that you had to try to hit, if you knew that was coming. But
bunny pitch.
You didn't.
but you knew when it was coming because you told me when I was tipping, and I really appreciate that. People know, but you told everyone. You told me I was tipping, and I really appreciate that.
How many times did you guys face off?
Like
A couple times, I think. Yeah. I don't remember a lot, but I know. Really, that was amazing because that changed my career. Really did.
Okay. I'm gonna, since and I must be so gratifying when you talk about Edouard Julien and just talk to these young kids and to see them absorb it. I mean, because I'm a comedian, and when I look at young comedians going getting their first 5-10 minutes and just coming off stage with that that glitter in their eyes, or just wow, when you tell someone to do something, they apply it and they come back with that same city smile, and naivety, and you know what I mean? It's it's got to be so gratifying for you.
Yeah, no, he's gonna be successful. When he got called up, I sent him a message that day, just saying, I said it's actually. The backgrounds are better in the major leagues. The lights are better, and the pitchers are around the strike zone more often. So I said it's easier to hit in the big leagues. So get used to it. You're going to be there a while. So we'll see what happens with him down the road and how things pan out for him. There's
something that I see in the last couple of years, and that's being obviously really involved in the fantasy baseball leagues, but we see a lot more often the jump from AA to the majors than from AAA to the majors. Is there a reason for that?
I couldn't tell you. All I know is today's players are so there's some big sons of bitches playing right now. They're
Very good.
They're 18 years old, and the pitchers are throwing 105 miles an hour. The guys I got out of the game right at the right time, trying to hit 105. No chance. So.
Hey, you take the top 9 when we played, or when you played, the top 9 now. Who do you think?
I'm not sure what you said there, Eric.
It's kind of like old school versus new school. I mean, we know, we talked about it earlier. Now everything's about the data. The athletes are better, but let's say we take the top 9 players right now in 2023 versus the best players back in '94. Who wins that game? Instinct, data, or just their athleticism is just that far beyond, even from 30 years ago.
Oh shit! I'm saying we're going to go back to '94 because Eric and I will be playing back then. So we'll take on these guys. Let's go. Let's go.
Nothing beats confidence, man, right?
I agree.
Hey, I'm going to leave you on this question, honestly, because kids are listening to us. Like I said, it's amazing to see the amount of messages that pop up on the screen. I wish I could have named everybody. Thanks for writing these in. Man, you just brought us back so many memories. When I mentioned on my social network yesterday that you were going to be our guest, it was amazing to see how many people responded and still love you. And a lot of these fans watching us right now, especially with the ABC, kids that might not have seen you play but know exactly who you are. And you mentioned something that I think is pretty good about, how you can be your own worst enemy with your head. What kind of advice can you give to a kid listening to us who's who's on the cusp? He's 16, 17, 18 years old. He's going to be high junior level. He's going to be being watched by scouts from JUCO or 4-year programs or professional scouts. You can be your worst enemy. What would you say to that kid?
Well, it's just simple stuff too, and it's really just not giving up, because you don't know when that light bulb's going to go on. It always goes on for you at some point in time when everything just clicks, and there's so many kids that are right on the cusp, and they just, taking that last leap is the hardest one. And for some of them, it's doesn't happen, but for a lot of them, it does if they continue to hang with it and stick to their guns. And I tell you what, I went to one winter ball, and I did 6 instructional leagues. So when the season was over, I went down to Florida and I worked at my craft more after the season. So it's a continued grind to get better and better. And even when you think you've finally gotten there and got to the finish line, there's still more to learn. So it's just a never-ending process that the kids can keep learning and never give up. And you'd be amazed how much data your brain can take and use towards you being successful.
You said the perfect word that does give Gags almost a hard on. Data. That's
yeah,
what he does.
I can't speak because no one hear me. So
Hey.
I heard that part.
Yeah, actually, your mic works when you complain, so keep complaining. But it's actually, hey, Larry, I'm not going to say Mr. Walker again. Thank you so much for baptizing. Help us celebrate this first episode of Game Over, the first English version of it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being there. I'm not going to say it again. Thanks for all the memories. Man, but I'm going to say it again. Thanks for all the memories. And, man, I'm so flattered to have gotten the chance to talk to you. Be well, and hopefully we'll do this again soon.
Thanks, Walk, man.
I appreciate it.
Let's golf soon. Let's golf soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys thinking of me, and it's an absolute privilege being the first one on the English channel. And like I said, all the people up there watching up in Montreal, I loved my time there, and I'm still a big Canadian lug at heart. And you might see me looking up all the time. It's because I'm watching the Oilers get their butts kicked right now by Vegas.
What's the score?
5-1. So, yeah, 5-1 Vegas right now.
Oh,
so,
really? Okay.
You know, being from just outside Vancouver, I always and I'll forever cheer for the Vancouver Canucks. But anytime I get to cheer for Canadian teams in the playoffs, so Vegas, Edmonton and Toronto are my go-dos right now. So that's where my heart.
Well, I think you could put I wouldn't hang on to Toronto too much, but anyway. But thanks for taking the time. We'll leave you at the game, and let's do this again soon. Thanks a lot.
You got it, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, Walk.